I guess you want to see some big leaves, and guess what? You've come to the right place because I'm going to give you guys some visuals you probably can't believe and tell you exactly what I do to achieve this in my garden. So if you want a couple tips, check out a couple hacks that I share. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome to another planty video. In this one, I have to get some foliar feeding done. I'll show you guys my best or my number one tool to foliar feed the fastest. I have to extend some poles, but I really don't feel to do it the traditional way, so I'll show you guys some quick hacks or some quick wins when I don't have time to extend poles, exactly what I do. I also have to make my Anthurium soil mix, but it's not my typical one. I am prepping to pot up my Anthurium seedlings that I grew from seed. So I need to make a mix for them that's appropriate for that size root system. And who knows what else I will meet in the garden when I get there. There is never a dull moment. I could just predict that my to-do list is going to extend once I touch down. So if you need some company to do your plantchores, feel free to pop me on. Let's get them done together. And of course, if you have any questions at all, I promise I will answer you guys in the comments. Okay, first things first, I like to make sure that I have all my soil mixes ready on plantures day so that once I walk through the garden and see that a plant needs repotting, I don't have to waste time to stop to mix a batch of soil and all of that. So I just basically like to have things on hand. So I'm going to start with mixing soil today. I'm going to wash these containers out because that round basin, I'm actually going to mix my Anthurium mix for my seedlings that have to get repotted, and I'll probably just top up the other container with my basic Anthurium mix just in case I find any Anthuriums that need to get repotted today. So once they're all cleaned, I'm going to basically shred this tree fern. I really do believe in tree fern. It really does amend my premium aroid mix perfectly for my Anthuriums, ensuring good aeration, which I definitely want to prioritize for my Anthurium seedlings, which have a very small root system right now. I'm going to add some biochar next. I got this from Growrite. I'll put a link in the description to basically explain how great biochar is. It's supposed to be, a crazy good product. I have only started using it, so I can't say much as yet, but I will keep you guys posted in terms of how my anthuriums perform. I'm also going to add some perlite just to stay on the safe side, as I don't want to encourage root rot or make too dense of a mix for the seedlings, and they're just not quite ready yet as they are currently planted in moss. So I'm going to give this a good mix. I forgot to mention that I try to crush the tree fern fiber as much as I can just to make it as small as possible to fit into a seed tray that I'm going to put them in. The last thing I'm going to add to this mix is my Utopia Premium Aroid Mix. This will ensure that those seedlings get the right nutrition from early. It has a lot of organic nutrients that I love using in my plants. I try to grow my plants as organically as possible. So I already had some in a bin just ready to go. So I'm just going to toss it in there, removing all these large chunks of cocoa that won't be able to fit in the little holes of the seed tray that I'm going to use. I'm also going to remove any large bits of charcoal. They will still have access to charcoal, which prevents bacterial infection and stuff from the biochar that I added. So this is what it looks like in the end. It's the first time I am making this mix, so I'm really hoping for the best. Comment below if you agree or if you have any tips for me. But this is the final mix I'm going to use. Okay, so now that that is done, I'm just going to cover it and put it one side because this is going down to the house where I will repot those seedlings and be sure to video it for you guys. If you are curious as to how I propagate anthuriums, I'll link another video for you all below. I'm going to proceed to make my general anthurium mix now. I unfortunately ran out of tree fern, so I'm only going to be able to use what I have on hand, which includes this fine grade orchid bark that I get from Home and Garden. I'm just going to mix that well, make sure it's in a container for easy storage and easy access. I can't stress on how convenient it is to have my mixes pre-mixed and well contained just to make plant chores so much easier and enjoyable even. But anyway, this is what the mix looks like. I'm going to transfer some into a smaller container because I have to repot my Anthurium pallidiflorum at the house, so I'm just going to make a portable batch. Now that this is full, I am just going to grab the cover and make sure it's contained properly for transporting. You all do not want to see what my trunk is looking like, so this is the least I could do at this time. I'm going to empty the rest of my aroid mix into this container that I got from PriceSmart. I think it's like a pack of 12 for $140, but I have to report some regular aroids too, so I'm just going to take down some of this mix and make sure that it's also contained. This last bit will fit perfectly in this. It's like a 2 foot by 1 foot size container. They're great for storing accessories and anything else really. Okay, finally onto the plants. So I started walking through and pulling out plants that need to get repotted or something has to be done with it, and I pulled out my Amydrium medium silver. I had done a lazy man pole extension here by just adding a stake and mounting it into the plank back when the pole should have been extended, and basically it bought me some time, but I really have to get it on a pole properly today. I also have to repot this Calathea bullmarxii. The roots are all out of the pot. Okay, so gauging by the root system, I think I'm going to double the pot size that I'm going to repot this one into. It is well rooted and I don't like risking getting these underwatered. It is an established plant, so I think I can make this sort of size jump. But when they are underwater, they really do show it. Leaves start to dry at the tips. They also start yellowing, but they move quick to that dry phase where they cool and just become crunchy and brown. These are the roots. So with a root system like that, I don't think there's any harm in doubling the pot that I'm going to pot it into. Because these are vining plants, I like to pot them a little deeper to ensure that any stems or exposed stems, I should say, are also covered to encourage rooting. I'm just using my general basic aroid mix, my premium aroid mix unamended here, just because I needed to maintain a lot of moisture in that pot to withstand the dry season that we're now facing. So I just backfill like this, ensuring I cover the stems. Okay, on to my Amydrium medium silver. This is a pretty mature plant. It's quite bushy and quite tall. I'm going to put a clip in here to explain how this ended up like this, but basically it broke, one of the planks broke off, and I lost the base or the main root system, and I had to preserve it. So I air layered with moss, and I left the bottom two nodes in soil to try and reroot it. And well, it rooted pretty well here. So I'm going to uppot it into a pretty large pot because I do want the pole to be more stable as well. So I'm going to release these two activated nodes here. Well, you could see the leaves. What I mean by activated is that leaves have already started growing out of those nodes. Here you can have a better look at how well rooted this plant was, even though it broke off because I air layered it in moss. The roots are coming all out the back of the plant here, so I'm glad I chose this size pot. I'm going to cover all of that in soil so it could continue to get nutrition, well, more nutrition now, being out of the moss and into soil medium. This size pot that I chose should also help stabilize the plant a lot more. And I'm going to extend here using this, probably like I think it's a 2.5 foot or 3 foot plant that I got from Utopia. This plant has really been crying out for that extension. Some leaves have already broken off, probably from high winds or the same iguana, so I'm going to extend it to stabilize it even more. So here it is secured using zip ties, one on top of the other basically, and that really holds it for a very long time. I have noticed that over about 2 years or so, the zip ties will deteriorate and pop off. Just a point to note, but I haven't found another way to secure poles. If you do have a suggestion, please comment below and let me know how you do it. I have to now secure this upper part of the plant using Velcro strips. I love using Velcro strips. I no longer use twine or any sort of string. Velcro is just the best thing. They are reusable. It stands up against moisture. It does not rip off easily. I just find it's the best thing to fasten plants to anything. Or if you need to fasten anything, I find Velcro strips are the best. I get this off of Amazon and will link it below. Here's a closer look at how thick this Velcro is. It is also perforated for easy ripping. I just attach the plant like this to the pole, It's going to need another extension soon, clearly, but this is the final look. Even though this leaf is broken, it has no yellowing or signs of stress, so I'm just going to leave it and let the plant do its thing. But I'm going to moss the top, ensuring that these two little leaves have room to grow and hopefully grow up the pole. Here is a closer look at roots wanting to come out. So this air layering method really has been successful for me time and time again. I'm watering with Great White water. I buy Great White at Casa Farms. Remember to mention Candy in store to get a discount at Casa Farms. And I'm chucking these two stones in here to further stabilize the pole. I'm just going to put it back in that spot that it thrives in, right next to the variegated Amydrium. You'd see here that my medium silver, though, has reverted to the juvenile form in terms of the leaf shape. This is a consequence of not extending that pole in time. If you look closely at the lower foliage, you'll see it's much more fenestrated. That's a typical characteristic of maturity in that leaf. So be sure to extend your poles in time. While I was putting that one back up, I saw that this Anthurium actually toppled over. It's my Anthurium magnificum. I know there are different varieties of magnificum. I'm not sure which one this is. Please comment and let me know if you do know. So this one also has a little baby in it that I think I'm going to separate, but I am still going to upsize it from this pot to a 1 gallon pot just so that it can go deep enough for me to be able to cover the upper exposed side. Here's a closer look of the baby plant that is in here that is also well rooted. I removed the moss on the top so you can see that, I find that is a super effective method to encourage root growth along the upper stem. I'm just going to carefully remove the baby plant from the mother plant. It is super well rooted in there, which I'm not complaining about, but I just want to be careful to make sure I save as much as possible. So I'm just carefully weaving it out. And this is what it looks like. It's a really nice size, 3 leaves. And I'm just going to put it one side for now and get a pot for it to pot it up. Okay, so I potted up the mother plant into the 1 gallon pot, and I was very careful not to cover this new leaf that you'll see here that's trying to emerge. However, I backfilled until I covered all of the exposed stem. I'm just clearing it there. Hopefully you can see that new leaf better. This is the size pot that I'm going to pot up the plant baby in. And I'm going to brace these couple leaves on the mother plant. Remember, this one fell, so those leaves got a little damaged. So I'm just using a skewer and a clip to give it some additional support. I mossed the top of the baby plant just to give it a little more humidity and make sure it does not dry out, but I'm not mossing this one because I was able to cover a lot, well, all of the exposed stem in soil, and that should be sufficient to keep it hydrated. This is Great White water again that I'm just going to use to water them both in. This is just a view of all my Anthurium pedata radiatum or Anthurium fingers. I find they give such a jungly vibe to the garden. That's why I have about 4 or 5 of them. They really bring me so much joy. Anyway, on to my foliar feeding. I use TPS1 nutrition. I get it on Amazon. 1 teaspoon goes a pretty long way. It's 1 teaspoon in a gallon. I just mix it into this container and I apply using my electric hose. This probably takes me like 15 minutes, 20 minutes max to do over 500 plants. I just press this button and my solution comes out and I spray all the foliage, including the poles, with this mix. And it's on a fan setting, or the nozzle sprays the solution in a fanned pattern for maximum coverage. I just want to also show you guys how long the hose is for this applicator. Basically, I am standing, I would say at least 25 feet away from the tank, and I'm able to operate normally with this hose. I think I'm going to show you from this angle as well. You could see where I'm standing compared to where the tank is over there. So it covers a good space, I find. Here's another one that brings me so much joy. It's my Anthurium pterodactyl hybrid. I have had this plant for probably 4 or 5 years now. It is just continuing to, you know, size up, which I'm not complaining about. It has a bunch of inflows on it, but it really is one of my favorites. However, it is leaning a lot. The main stem is about 2 feet above the soil line, and I currently have it within a stake system, but it needs a little more bracing. So this is a stackable stake system, thankfully, so I don't have much work to do here. I just have to get a couple extensions and add it. Okay, so I've added the extenders, so now it's about 3 feet up, but my plant is perfectly poised and upright again. It's no longer leaning. I don't have that worry of it just snapping off. It's like a bouquet or a mini tree. I really, really love this one. And a lot more light will be able to get in there and brighten up the lower space for the plants that are living below. But I'm so happy to have this one upright again. It is pretty massive. Look at it against my hand. But moving along to my Manjula pothos, that is also pretty huge. Again, these leaves are like dinner plate size, but it has completely fallen over because my makeshift or lazy man pool has collapsed onto my philodendron silver sword. Okay, don't laugh, but I'm tired now, so I'm just gonna replace the original lazy man solution with another lazy solution and just put a stake down into the pole again, but one that's a lot taller. And I'll probably just mount the Manjula like this onto it until I figure out if to chop and prop this, because I already messed up the growth pattern by not extending the pole so that it looks quite messy. So I'm just going to think about if to chop and prop that. But this is the ideal situation when you put a plant on a pole. This is my Epipremnum pinnatum albo. When it is done right, these are the results that you could get. Maturity starts from so much earlier. It is well rooted into the bark of this tree, and basically these are the goals when I add or when we add climbers to our collection. Okay, so that's it for the chores. I just want to give you guys some views before we go. This is one that you don't see very often. It's my Syngonium erythrophyllum. It is pushing out new leaves and finally recovering from an attack by snails. And this is my unusually variegated Vitrifolium. The veining basically is where the variegation is, which I love. It is quite unique, and I'm not a fan of variegated Anthuriums, but I got this one because the veins basically glow. It is laden with inflows right now. Anyway, let me leave you guys. This is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and please remember to like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.